everyone, and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm bringing you another Flight Attendant one-on-one session. This one is the 8 worst mistakes you can make when flying. Now, these are mistakes that I've made myself when I first started flying, and I just wanted to bring these little tidbits to you so that you don't have to go through the same pain and aggravation that I had to go through when I first became a flight attendant. Okay, so these are not in any particular order. These are just 8 of some of the worst mistakes that I've made that I want you to avoid. Okay, so first of all, and this one is very important, is not getting enough rest. Now, whether you are a reserve flight attendant and you don't know how long your day is going to be because you don't know what flights you're going to get if you get a flight, it's very important that if you know that you start your reserve time at a certain time, that you get enough rest prior to the beginning of your shift, because they can call at any time. Trust me, guys, I've been woken up many times at 4 a.m. So you don't want to go to bed like at midnight and, have to get up at 4 a.m. if that's the case. Not getting enough rest also can lead to fatigue. And fatigue can lead to major mistakes. Let me tell you, the worst thing that's happened to me since I've started flying is, I didn't do it, but I was there when it happened, was inadvertent slide deployment from opening a door that was still armed with the slide still attached to it. And yeah, that was not good. That person, unfortunately, is no longer with the company, and you have to feel bad because it was probably something avoidable. But I remember she kept saying she was tired. And so these are the things that I'm, thinking about. When you don't get a lot of sleep, you may make some major mistakes. Not only that, but, you can get maybe testy with the customers. You can get testy with your crewmates. So nobody wants a testy flight attendant. All right, so tip number 2, another worst mistake people make is forgetting a required item. Now, as you guys have heard already through my other videos, every airline requires you to have certain items that you have to have every single time you fly. For example, a passport is one of the required items that I have to have. Regardless of whether or not I am traveling abroad or not, I have to have my passport. And so it's very important that you don't forget these items, because you will get sent home and you'll probably get written up, or I don't know what your company's procedures might be, but you'll definitely, it's not going to be good. So some little tricks and tips that I do to keep my things organized and make sure that I always have them with me is, for example, my watch is one of the things that's required. So at night when I am about to go to sleep, I take off all my jewelry and I will place my watch right next to my jewelry. So the next day, if I have to fly and I'm putting on my jewelry, I know that my watch is right there, and it's just a reminder. Same thing with my passport and my badge. They are always in my bag. As soon as I leave the airport, I take my badge off and it goes right into my bag and it stays in there, so I know that I'm not gonna put it on the counter and leave it there. And another thing that I have to take with me is my iPad. Now, my iPad has to be fully charged every day, and so what I do is I plug it into the restroom socket. So, when you first wake up, the first thing you do is you go to the restroom. So as soon as I go to the restroom, I see it laying on my counter, I unplug it, put it right into my bag, and I know that I won't have to worry about forgetting it. So these are some tips that I do so that I don't forget. Tip number 3 is not packing enough clothes, or not packing enough or clothes that are going to be weather appropriate. Now, this is a little bit more difficult if you are a reserve flight attendant because oftentimes you don't know where they're sending you. You get a phone call, you're on the way out, you got to be out immediately, or you are at the airport waiting, sometimes in a crew lounge. And if they paid you, they tell you to go to a certain gate, you're going to work this trip for however many days it may be. When you're a reserve flight attendant, you pretty much don't know. You don't have a clue unless, like for me, for example, sometimes, even though I'm reserved right now, crew services will call me the day before, or put it on my schedule the day before. I always check my schedule every single day, multiple times a day, just to see if there's anything that's been added to my schedule, so that at least I have a heads up and I know where I'm going. So, tips in order to remedy this situation is pack in monochromatic colors. Things that you can mix and match very easily. You can make multiple outfits with a few pieces of clothing by swapping them out. And also, for as far as like the weather, if you don't know, if you're going to be sent to a cold weather, you're going to be somewhere tropical, you don't know, pack in layers, travel with layers, because it is very easy. If it's a hot weather, you can take off your clothes and wear, very minimal clothing. Or same thing, if you're going to a colder climate, then you can add layers, different shirts, sweaters, maybe a jacket on top of that. And you can always put layers on and you can always take layers off. But if you only travel with a few items, you might get stuck, in some weather or place that you just are not equipped to handle the situations outside, and you may be forced to stay indoors for your duration of your stay. So keep that in mind. Okay. Now, tip number 5 is something that I've come to realize is not drinking enough water when you're flying. I don't know what it is about, if it's the altitude or it's the cabin air, but when you're flying, your skin gets dehydrated very, very quickly. Not to mention that I live in the desert, and so there is pretty much no humidity in the air. There's no there's no water hitting my skin, guys. So I am constantly having to moisturize my skin 24/7. Yeah, not fun, but hey, it keeps me nice and supple and soft. So having said that, we are provided with water for our trips. And I always make sure that I drink at least 2 liters of water during my flight. Sometimes more, sometimes a little bit less, depending on the duration of my flight. But you always want to keep hydrated, and I always keep a very moisturizing lotion in my purse so that I can, moisturize my hands and my arms, because we're constantly washing our hands as well. Every time you touch something or before you do service, whatever, you are washing your hands multiple times. Therefore, you need all that moisture right back in your skin. So make sure you keep hydrated. And if you don't like some people are like, I don't like water. Bring some packets of flavored drinks with you. For example, I bring Crystal Light with me. I've even seen Gatorade in powder form. There's those droplets that you can put in your water and give them flavor. So there's a ton of different things that you can add to your water if you feel like you need something more than just water. If it just, you just want something else. The last thing you want to do is open one of those cans of sodas in the airplane and drink that. I know sometimes they give you a little pick-me-up if you're feeling a little bit down in energy, but having sodas all the time is not good, guys. So that's my tip. Tip number 6, another one of the worst things that flight attendants do when they first come into the line is not realizing how boring things can get on the airplane. Now, once you do service and you do trash and you clean restrooms throughout your flight, you have quite a bit of downtime. So when you're not eating, you want to keep yourself entertained. So make sure that you bring something that will keep you entertained. Don't count on passengers leaving magazines all the time because, on that flight that you don't have anything or that you didn't bring anything to keep yourself entertained with, that's the flight that you're not going to have any magazines to look over. So keep that in mind. Bring a book, bring crossword puzzles, whatever it is that you like to keep yourself busy. Another reason why you want to keep busy is because there's a thing called Galley Confessions or Galley Confessions. And that's one of the things that companies frown upon. Now, if you guys have ever flown and you have been close to either the front of the airplane or the end of the airplane where the engines are, depending on where the engines are on your airplane, but ours are usually in the back and in the front. Unless it's a 757, it's in the middle. But having said that, those engines are loud, which means that flight attendants usually when they congregate in the galley, they start talking and they're catching up, they're talking about personal things, and your voice tends to rise. And I have been like walking, not even anywhere close to the galley, and I can hear what some of the flight attendants are talking about. So when you're talking about private things or personal things, that you think that you're just talking to the next person one-on-one and, everything's a secret. Well, it's not, guys. Your voice carries, believe it or not. When you're a couple of rows over, you can still hear what is being said in the galley. So keeping yourself entertained is also going to keep you out of the gossip area. And that's, gossiping is never good. So I like to stay away from that. I like to just keep myself busy. And because I'm so new with the company anyways, there's so many flight attendants. And when people are talking about other people, it's like, I don't even know who they are. I really don't care what's going on. I try to stay away from the drama, guys. So that's what I do. That's my tip for you. All right. Another big mistake. Number 7. That people make. Okay, so you want to look cute. You have your high heels on. Don't make the mistake that I made in thinking that, okay, so my heels are only 2.5 inches. I can work with that all day, no problem, Yeah, even if you have a short flight, guys, make sure you bring service shoes because take the example of a bag of chips. If you ever have flown, you can see that things expand in the air. So if you have shoes on, your feet are also going to swell up. Even if it's just a little bit, you're still going to swell up your whole body. So you want to make sure that you bring service shoes. And so as soon as you're done boarding and you're done and you are about to start your service, you change into your service shoes, and you are at least wearing very comfortable shoes throughout your flight, and that's going to avoid having very achy feet. Trust me, guys, I have forgotten my service shoes before in the past, and I have paid for it. At the end of the day, I feel like I'm limping, walking, because, your feet swell and it does hurt. So don't forget your service shoes. There you go. Okay, so last but not least is my last tip. Tip number 8 of one of the worst things that you can do is not bringing touch-up makeup, guys. Now, I'm not talking about a bag full of makeup for the girls. Again, this one is for the girls. you want to make sure that you bring something to touch your makeup while you're in flight, because when you eat, for example, I've been taking salads to work with me, nice and healthy. Yeah, you see what I'm doing there? So I'm taking my salads, but with the salad dressing, usually they're oily, and so that will mess up your lipstick. Even if you get those liquid to matte or liquid to dry lipsticks, they usually will counteract with oil. That's how you take them off at the end of the day. And so you're eating a salad, it's oily, now your lips don't look good. So you want to make sure that you bring at least a little compact with a touch up of your lips, and anything else that you deem necessary that kind of crumbles on you at the end of the day. I try to buy very, very good makeup that lasts all day. Those are makeups that have on the bottles and packages that usually say 24-hour coverage or 12-hour coverage or whatever. I try to get items that are going to last me all day so that my retouch are very, very minimal. If I'm not eating anything oily, I usually don't even have to retouch anything. But if I do eat a salad with the dressing, then I may redo my lips before I do my next service, or before I take on my next customers or whatever. Another thing you can do is buy one of those little brushes, and they kind of just collapse into themselves, and then you can open it, and then they extend, and then you can brush your hair. And that's if you have your hair down. You will always want to look good. You want to look presentable, and you are the face of your company, so keep that in mind. I'm not talking about bringing a bag full of makeup. That I have in my bag, my overnight bag, if I have to stay anywhere. But that always stays there. I don't like bothering the customer to get into my bag in the overhead bins and get things out of there. When I come into work, I put my bag up there and I leave it there for the entire flight sequence, depending if it's 2 flights, 4 flights, or 6 flights for the day. I never touch anything. I always put everything that I'm going to need in one of the galley cubbies, because I don't like getting in front of people and having to reach up and to get whatever it is that I may need. So these are my 8 tips that I can give to you. These are the 7 worst mistakes that I have made as a brand new flight attendant. If you're just graduating from flight attendant school, or if you're starting out already, these are some of the tips that I can offer to you. I hope this has been helpful. Give it a thumbs up if you like this type of video. Remember, guys, if you're just watching for the first time, this is my channel. I am a flight attendant, and I vlog about my days as a flight attendant, and I also bring little sneak peeks behind the scenes of my home life as well. So if you like it, make sure you subscribe and leave me a comment of any suggestions of anything that you would like to see. I always read the comments, and I try to reply to every single one of you. Okay, guys, so thank you very much for tuning in one more time. Hugs and kisses to each and every single one of you. Until the next time. Bye, guys.